in seconds. We're live.
Okay.
Great. Shall we start?
Yes.
Alrighty. My name is Jeremy. I'm one of the co-founders of Make School, and we're doing an info session today on the Make School Summer Academy. This summer is going to be the 4th year that we offer the Summer Academy, and we are offering 2 tracks, a game development and an app development track. The Summer Academy is going to be offered in New York City, in San Francisco, and in Palo Alto, and the dates run from June 22nd to August 15th. And then August 15th is a Saturday when every single student is going to show off the apps or games that they made to an audience of industry professionals. The Summer Academy's curriculum has actually been used and is currently in use at universities like MIT and Carnegie Mellon. And the curriculum that we created has over 10,000 people taking it online currently. I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of our alumni success stories. We have alums after the Summer Academy who've gone on to work and intern at companies like Apple, like Dropbox, like Square, Facebook, and more recently Pandora and Snapchat. We also have great alumni success stories from students who did the program when they were in high school. So Summer Academy students who did the Summer Academy in high school have then gone on to universities like MIT, Harvard, Princeton, Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, UC Berkeley, and other top computer science schools. We even have an alum who tells us that he got into Harvard thanks to Make School because he wrote his college application about the 2 games that he made during the Make School Summer Academy and believes this helped him gain admission to Harvard University. So Dan has some photos to show you from the Summer Academy. And as I'm talking, you can take a look and get a sense of what the experience is like. A quick overview of the curriculum. The Make School Summer Academy is divided into 2 main parts. The first part is the first 2 weeks of the program. And in the first 2 weeks, you clone existing popular apps or games. So students who are in the games track are going to be cloning Flappy Bird, Timberman, Angry Birds, and students in the apps track are going to be cloning Evernote and Instagram. And this includes the back-end functionality of these games. So students in the apps track will also learn how to spin up a server using one of the popular back-end frameworks and have their app actually communicate with that back-end. Then the remaining 6 weeks of the program are focused on designing, coding, and shipping an original app or game. And so this allows students to really express their originality. And we have a team of industry professionals who are teaching the Summer Academy and are there to assist students in brainstorming awesome ideas and then bringing them to completion so that they can actually release them on the App Store by the end of the program. Throughout the program, students are going to learn the Swift programming language. And in the games track, we're going to be using the Cocoa Studio game engine. In the apps track, we're going to be using the UIKit framework provided by Apple. And by the end of the program, students will be well equipped to go and turn any ideas that they have about apps or games into reality. And not only that, but they'll have a portfolio item to show colleges or potential future employers. And like I was saying earlier, it's been an instrumental tool for our alums in getting admission to top universities and landing top internships in industry. Before I move on, I'd like to invite our audience to ask questions so that we can be doing some Q&A towards the end. There is a little Q&A tab that you can bring up in the Google Hangouts interface. And as I'm talking, I invite you to type questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer them at the end of the session. We are also going to be inviting a couple of alums to speak to us about their experiences and also answer questions you might have from them. One alum who did the program right after high school, one alum who did the program right after college. So they can give you the varied perspectives of the range of students we have in the Make School Summer Academy. Every year we actually attract a wide audience. Students as young as 13. Our oldest last year was 53. The typical student profile is someone who has taken introductory or intermediate computer science in school or who has self-taught sort of to a similar level of knowledge. And the core student base tends to be in late high school or early college, but we welcome students of all ages. Last summer, we actually had students from 18 different countries attend, and from all over the United States. So a common question we get is, can international students apply to the Summer Academy? The answer is absolutely yes. Another question is, I'm a minor. Can I come in from out of state? Will there be housing? And the answer is also yes. We have housing available in all 3 of our locations, New York City, Palo Alto, and San Francisco, with most of the housing being in San Francisco. And that housing is provided on a first-come, first-served basis. The cost is not covered as part of tuition, but is available for an additional price. And information will go out to all admitted students about how to book housing if they are interested. Moving on, we'd like to tell you about some of the great opportunities afforded to our students during the Summer Academy. We have amazing, amazing founders, developers, and folks from industry come and speak to our students every week. So at least once a week, we invite someone, and these people include Sam Altman, who I think you can see in the broadcast right now to the left, who came and spoke to our West Coast students. And not seen in that picture is his Tesla convertible, which he drove up in, much to the sort of student surprise. Sam Altman runs Y Combinator, which is the most powerful and successful early-stage investment firm in the world. And then to the right here, we have Alexis Ohanian holding one of our 2014 alums. And Alexis came and visited our students, and this is the 2nd year in a row that he has done so. And Alexis is the founder of Reddit, which is a website that a lot of our students spend more time on than they should. But I'm as guilty of that as anyone. So every week you'll have folks like Alexis, like Sam, founders, investors, developers, coming in and speaking to you about their experiences. And this is a really great way to sort of get a head start in understanding what the Silicon Valley ecosystem is like, how it all fits together. And of course, we invite people for the games track from the games industry. And so it's a great way to understand how independent game development works, how large studios work, how games get funding, published, distributed, and so on and so forth. One of the things our alums tell us is it's a great way for them to gain insights into how you can go from working on a project to working on a product. And over the Summer Academy, we get a lot of students who are working on their projects and one day aspire to build products, or even turn in the project they made into a product. And so having such a wide variety of professionals come over and speak about their experiences is a great way to sort of understand how that process works in the real world. In terms of admissions for the Summer Academy, this year we're being very selective. We are expecting an order of magnitude larger applications than there are slots. And we would like to give you a couple tips in how to apply. And for those of you who have asked questions so far, you should know that they're showing up great on the side of the screen, and I'll get to them as soon as I'm done with the first part of the info session. So in terms of applying, the main thing we'd say is don't bury what is special about you deep in the application, and be very forthcoming about linking to and giving examples of projects you've worked on. So we have students tell us things like, I made an app that does XYZ, it's on the App Store, but they don't tell us the name of the app, or they don't give us a link to the app that's been published. So a big rule of thumb is show us more than tell us. So anything you've made, if you have a link to it, if it's online, if there's a video we can see of it working, if there's screenshots, we love to see that in your application. And the more of those, the better. The other thing to know is that we want to make sure that we are getting students who are passionate about building things. But sometimes you get students who've just started programming in the past year. And so naturally, we don't expect them to have amazing computer science projects ready yet, but we still want to hear about other projects they've worked on. This could include things like starting clubs at your school, building things with hardware, or other initiatives that show that you're the kind of person who likes to create and produce things that other people will enjoy. So any leadership roles or other things, things you've started or created are really good things to include in your Make School application. I'm going to now take some of the questions in the sidebar. For those of you who don't have the question and answer tab open, the first question is, what resources should students take advantage of and focus on during the Make School program? And the answer to that, well, is varied. There's many things, but one that stands out is the peer network and the mentor network, or guest speaker network. So last summer we had students attend from over 18 different countries, and the common interest of every single Make School student was that they loved building products with software. everyone was there to ship something by the end. And that is an unbelievable concentration of like-minded people that you don't often get in the same room at the same time, let alone from 9 to 5 every day for 8 weeks. So the biggest thing that you can do is take advantage of that community, because as you go forward and become Make School alums, you plug into our larger alumni community, and there's a lot of value there. Some of the top collegiate and high school hackathons have been organized by Make School alums. These include hackathons like Hack MIT, Hack Princeton, Hack Duke in the collegiate circuit, Hack Gen Y, and HS Hacks in the high school circuit. So these are, getting to network and connect with your peers is very valuable, especially as you leave Make School. Your peers are potential future co-founders. We have Make School alums applying to Y Combinator together, but also future collaborators on projects of all sorts. The other thing I'd say is students have been, in some cases, successful at building connections with some of the professionals, the founders, the investors we bring into the program. It's often surprising how accessible and how willing to sort of meet up with or answer questions some of these folks are. And the more you're willing to get out there, break the ice, talk to them, follow up by email, the more value you can get from that relationship. And so I'd say, when people come by Make School to give a guest talk or meet our students, and especially on that final demo day on August 15th, when we have a whole variety of folks from industry coming, building connections but then following up on them is a great way to make the most of your Make School Summer Academy. The last thing is that your instructors often have very, very strong professional backgrounds, and they're going to be there every day helping you with your projects. And so, especially in terms of code architecture and project design, it's very, very valuable to sort of get their input and get their thoughts on what you're doing. And they're there to help you build a professional quality product by the end of the program, even if you're just a high school student. The second question is, how much programming knowledge are students expected to know before entering Make School? The Make School Summer Academy requires object-oriented programming experience. And what that means is you need to understand the difference between an object in a class, an instance variable and a class variable, how inheritance works in an object-oriented setting. And it doesn't really matter what language you know. It could be Python, it could be Java, it could be C++. What matters to us is what concepts you know. And so we get a majority of students entering the Summer Academy being intermediate to very proficient in some languages, but not necessarily in Swift. And that's totally okay. You should not feel like you're too inexperienced if you don't know Swift, because we accept students with a variety of programming language experience as long as they have that object-oriented programming experience. If you don't feel like you have that experience, there's a few ways to get it. In high school, the AP Computer Science curriculum covers a lot of object-oriented programming. In college, most introductory data structures and algorithms courses or introductory CS courses cover these concepts as well. If you don't have access to those, finding an online course that covers similar curriculums, a sort of introductory level college course, or the AP Computer Science curriculum if you're in high school, is a great place to look. You can also look to websites like Codecademy and Team Treehouse. So we recommend the Codecademy Python track. It's paying special attention to the section on classes and objects. And then teamtreehouse.com has a variety of courses available, many of which require an understanding of object-oriented programming experience. And so if you feel like you're not quite ready there, one of the things we'll often do if we interview you and we really like your application, but you're not quite there in object-oriented programming, is we'll assign you some pre-work. The most important thing to know is that if you want to do Make School, you should apply. If your profile is good, you show passion for building great things, there's a good chance you'll get an interview with us. And our team is happy to interview students who have a commitment to getting the required knowledge before the summer, even if they don't have it yet. And so if we like you, we can conditionally admit you and assign you some pre-work, sort of homework to do before the summer to confirm your admission. And that's something we often do for students who are kind of on the fence in terms of their programming experience. The third question is, what happens if you already know Swift? Are you going to just get a head start on your app? The answer is, if you truly already know Swift and the engine or framework you're using. So in the games track, there would be the Cocos 2D game engine, and the apps track would be UIKit. If you already know Swift and that framework, then we will be putting you in a track with other students who are also more advanced and have you start brainstorming and developing your games earlier. We will also encourage you to attend lectures on topics we might cover that you don't know much about yet. Because we cover things at quite a strong level of depth, oftentimes people who have self-taught Swift or self-taught iOS development are still missing some fundamentals or some advanced concepts. And so we'll make sure to have you discuss with our instructors your current level of knowledge and identify in those first 2 weeks which are the projects or which are the lectures that you really should attend. The other thing we can do is have you participate in a track that is using technologies that you're not familiar with yet. The Swift programming language is only one part of developing iOS apps. And you could be an expert in Swift and still learn tremendously by doing the first 2 weeks of the curriculum, because by cloning the popular apps and games in that curriculum, you learn a lot more than Swift. You learn about, in the games track, game development in the game engine. In the apps track, you learn about the real intricacies of UIKit and building an app backend. And so even for a Swift expert, there's a lot of value in those first 2 weeks of the curriculum. The fourth question is, what does a typical day for Make School look like during the Summer Academy? And a little sub-question, which is it wrong to say there's a typical day? So the Make School Summer Academy is held in an office-like setting. It's much more like an office than it is like a classroom. And what that means is every student has their own desk, or sharing one with another student, and lectures are only a small part of the total experience. The Make School Summer Academy is totally project-based. And what that means is the bulk of the time is spent working on projects that either you're designing in the remaining 6 weeks or that we assign in the first 2 weeks with your peers and with our mentors. So on a given day, you might have an hour of lecture or guest lecture. If it's lecture, it's going to be learning something during the first 2 weeks more technical. In the remaining 6 weeks, more about design or marketing or analytics or about launching your app. And then if it's not a lecture from us, it's a guest lecture from someone like Sam Altman, Alexis Ohanian, a local CTO, things like that. So an hour of lecture, an hour for lunch, and the rest of time spent on coding with several times a week breaks taken to do testing, so having students try out each other's apps and give feedback, brainstorming, making sure that students' ideas are things that people will want to use. And we also have this great thing we do where we pair students together and make them product managers for each other's projects. So every student is going to be a project manager for another student and vice versa. And so during the week, you meet twice a week to check on the milestones that you set for yourself. How are you doing in terms of your own deadlines? Should you be cutting features from your app or adding new ones? And it's a great way to get some management experience along with development experience. So all those things combined make up a typical week. And on a given day, as a result, you get some selection of those things. We now have, in my application, should I add the fact I'm open to spending more time learning Swift or coding? The answer is yes. It does help your application, especially if you're on the more beginner side, to confirm that you have time to learn more if needed. This gives us the confidence to interview you, because if we conditionally admit you and assign you pre-work, you've already told us you have time to do that work, and it increases the chances that you will get admitted and even get an interview. So absolutely yes, if you have time before June 22nd to improve your coding knowledge and you're not sure that you're quite at the level required right now, it really does help to let us know that you have time for that. Let's see. I think that we got all the questions so far. I'm going to jump back to a couple of logistical points. The application deadline is on April 15th. And we are being selected this year, so things like complete sentences, proofreading, and again, links to past projects and products really do help your chances as we review the applications. Now we'd like to take questions for our alums. I'd like to introduce them. The first we have online is Masa. Masa did Make School the summer after high school. Can the audience see Masa? All right, say hi to Masa. So I'm going to have Masa answer a few questions that I have, and then you're more than welcome to submit questions to the sidebar as well that I can ask Masa. So, Masa, the first question is, what made you want to apply to the Summer Academy?
Okay, so the major reason was that I have done 2 years of programming in high school, but in that whole 2 years, I never really made anything that people could use. And when I saw Make School's program, I thought this would be a perfect way to learn some of the more applicable sides of the programming. And since I had a free summer, I said, why not? And I applied, and it was great.
And what would you say the favorite part of your program, the program was for you?
One of my favorite parts of the program is just being surrounded by all these people who are just as passionate about coding as I am. There's not too many people who even know about computer science in my high school, so it was a complete different environment. And because of that environment, you constantly get feedback, and you also like review each other's code. That's also a great way to learn programming as well. And I felt that the environment was very nice, and on top of that, there was always instructors who are willing to teach you new things and help you constantly, and that was really nice.
So we were just talking about the value of the Make School alum network. Have you kept in touch with anyone that you met during the Make School Summer Academy?
Yes, actually, I go to hackathons pretty often, and a lot of the times I'll randomly or coordinately meet up with some of them or go together to work on a project together. And actually, as Jeremy mentioned earlier, some of the alumni are coordinators at big hackathons, and they actually helped a lot of us get into the hackathons, help with the application process, and sort of like cut our way into the hackathons, which was pretty awesome.
And can you tell us what you're up to since the Summer Academy? Like, what do you do right now?
Yes, so after the Summer Academy, I realized that this is exactly what I want to do, and college was not the exact priority. So what I ended up doing is I ended up attending Make School's College Alternative program, and currently right now I'm working as a lead iOS developer at a startup called Papali.
Awesome. And our audience should note that most of Masa's coworkers are Caltech PhDs, which is a really cool environment to be in. A couple of questions from the sidebar that I just want to address. Roberto is asking whether he can make a smartphone application during the Summer Academy that interfaces with an embedded system like an Arduino, a Raspberry Pi for like a rover or quadcopter. We'd be very supportive of an idea like that. You just have to know that we're gonna make you focus on the iOS part during the program, and then the embedded systems portion or the drone portion we would encourage you to do, after hours and things like that. Now, a question for you, Masa, from one of the students. Did you ever feel during the Summer Academy like you had to drop some features or didn't have enough time to finish your project?
Let me see. Yes, there was definitely a lot of features that I had to cut, and then there was also features that I ended up adding later. So some of the features you don't really know how it'll turn out coding-wise or how long it'll take until you actually start working on them. And then sometimes you just have some features that once you start user testing, you realize that it's completely unneeded, and there's some other features that have higher priority. And those are good experiences as well, just having these feedback to enhance and like add and remove features too.
Awesome. Let's bring in Jordan. Jordan is an alum who recently graduated UC Berkeley and did the Summer Academy. And Jordan, we're going to have you field a question here, which was, what do Make School students do in their free time during the Summer Academy? Yes.
Sure, yeah. So if you're into Smash, that's definitely a big thing. That was a huge activity both after regular school hours and also at lunch. Huge number of people playing Smash together. There's also quite a few of us that would go rock climbing, lots of places to do that here in the area, as well as I attended the San Francisco location, so obviously there's a whole lot to do. Many times just with friends, we would go to like grab In-N-Out down on the pier, things like that. Yeah, like, and honestly, a lot of time just spent staying late coding together because it's really fun. Like Masa was saying, the environment is so positive that it just really like makes you want to keep going, and it's so fun when you're building a product and you're like adding on little features as you go. It's just really rewarding.
So let's have another question for you, Jordan, which was, what was the most valuable thing you learned from the Make School Summer Academy?
The most valuable thing, very similar to what Masa just said, talking about features, is scale it down. Just whatever you're imagining, chop half of it off, and then like reduce the like high fidelity like graphics or whatever you thought you were gonna make, because you're not gonna have time. And that's okay, because such a big part of the Summer Academy is learning better getting to know your own limits. For me, that was something that felt really challenging at the beginning of the summer when we first started our project manager pairs. Was we'd have to set these milestones of when we thought we'd have certain features in our games done, and I had no idea. I was like, sure, that might take a couple days or something like that. But then, like, as time goes on, you're like, no, this definitely takes longer. So, like, features start falling off on the back end. But that's okay, because the skill that you're gaining is that sort of knowledge of how quickly can I do this thing? If it's something I haven't done before, am I overestimating my abilities to do it quickly? Because so much of the Summer Academy is time spent learning and reading and finding the resources that you need, as opposed to just coding. If you already know how to code everything, then you might be able to sit down and just type out what you need. But for me, it was a much more research-intensive process, if that makes sense. Because if you don't know how to do something, you're going to spend a lot of time looking up options, talking to your peers, depending on if what they're doing is similar to the kinds of things that you're trying to do. And of course, relying on the mentors and the instructors that are available, because they have all of this great experience doing the kinds of things that you're trying to implement yourself.
Masa or Jordan, were there times where in your sort of project management pairs where you had to tell your partner to cut features on their app, where you got to be like the manager and sort of, you know, tell them, hey, you're running over schedule, and that you feel like you were going to be responsible for them making a deadline or getting their game done by demo day?
So we definitely had a similar situation. He was falling a little bit behind, so what I ended up doing was that I didn't directly tell him to cut off the features, but I said, well, either way, we need this part of the app done, so focus on this now. By like the end of this week, I want you to at least have this part done. And I sort of, we had this communication back and forth of just like focusing on one specific feature at a time and having that done. And then after we had that talk, the progress was getting much better. And then he eventually got to a lot of the advanced features that he wanted to get finished in the end anyways.
Awesome. We're going to wrap up now since we're hitting our time limit, but I wanted to answer a last question which came up, which is, after you submit your application, is it possible to make changes? And the answer is yes. When you submit your application, you receive by email a link, and that link can allow you to request to add more information to your application. So Taylor, in particular, you're asking this, and this applies to all of you. You can click that link and then add more information to your application before we review it. Also, if there's any additional information that you feel we should know about, you should contact me at jeremy@makeschool.com. And the last question is probably a good one for Masa to answer, and it's going to be our absolute last one. Ignat is wondering, how hard was it, Masa, for you to pay tuition, and did you receive a scholarship?
So Make School does a really good job with helping out with financial needs. I actually received a very generous financial aid package, and tuition was really not a problem at all. I say that if that's the only reason that's going to be stopping you from applying, just go ahead and apply anyways, and then just see how much how they could help you, and yeah, that's all I could really say.
Great. And with that, We're going to end the session, but any one of you who have questions you want to continue asking, again, reach out to me directly, jeremy@makeschool.com, and I'd be happy to answer any further questions you have. And it was a pleasure chatting with you all, and thank you so much to Masa, and thank you, Jordan, for helping us out during this info session. Take care, everyone.